This is Jive and Honey, famous for nothing. And we have another guest. We have a beloved friend of the show that we've been working together for years. This is Riley. I wanted to ask before we started, what do you call we would call a stripper? Do they go by exotic dancer?
I just say stripper.
Stripper.
But it does depend on the girl. Some girls want to be called like, I'm a dancer, not a stripper.
Do you know, I just actually, in doing research for this,
What?
I did. I read one thing.
You read one thing.
I found out what the difference is. So, because in some major
According
cities,
to who?
according to sex workers, so in some major cities there are clubs that don't have stages with poles. It's only a lap dance club.
Right.
Those are dancers. When it has a stage and a pole, those are strippers.
Huh. But it seems like...
But it seems like the thing is like,
Yeah.
when you want a certain level of self-respect, you call yourself a
Right,
dancer.
but how do you feel about sex worker?
Sex worker, I feel fine because it is a very sexual entertainment job. Like,
Right.
You're not actually...
It's not a batting cage.
You're not actually doing it, but you're simulating. You're giving people lap dances,
Right.
which
There's
are...
no gray area. It's sexual.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, somebody doesn't have most of their clothes on. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's why stripper to me is what I say because I'm stripping clothes off when I
Right.
do my
It's a
stage
strip
performance.
tease.
Yeah.
So I think that is where it may have originated from. And I think some cities actually had a differentiation of licensing and things like that. So
right.
that was
zoning and licensing and what
liquor
what you're
license
allowed to
and whatever,
do,
yeah.
What you're
And I
not.
heard different things between some people think strippers are the ones that like do the house calls, like go to someone's house to do a bachelor party.
bachelor
or
party,
something.
stuff like that.
And
Okay.
then
Right.
dancers work in a club, etc. But I'm like, it's
Yeah, that's
Right.
yeah, I don't.
yeah. About every other year, we call you up to do something crazy. Do you, when you see our number come up, do you be like, "Oh, what the hell do they want?"
Yeah, I get excited. I'm
yeah.
excited
Okay, all right.
to try new things.
We started out, and it's like anyone who watches the show, and you should watch all the episodes, knows that I have a little cowboy fetish. So the very first photo shoot we ever did, we made you a little cowboy outfit.
Chaps.
Where we took the fancy Western shirts and cut out like the
Cut
yoke
along
of
the
the
line.
shirt, so
Yeah.
you're topless, and then assless chaps.
Yes, and
It
then
was
we had the
awesome.
star pasties. It was like
Yep.
it was perfect.
It was so
Yeah.
great. It was
That's
like we should tell like once a year we do a promotional shoot for a gentleman's club, and it's once a year we get to do whatever we want. They're like whatever you guys want. So
Yeah.
every year is something different. It is so much fun.
Most of the time. It is
Most
so
of
much
the time,
it is-
yeah,
It's always fun before we do it. It's usually fun after we've done it.
Yeah, there's been
But there's been a couple years.
There's been a couple years where it's tough.
It's been difficult.
But it's like I would like to think, and in the club, there's a room with all the different photo shoots. I love a psychiatrist to come and like, it's like, because it's like cowboys. We did one thing where we only picked items from Home Depot. So
Right,
it's
yeah.
ropes and chains. And then the last, 3-4 years, you've been coming in to test out what we're going to do that year. I remember I covered you in like cold cream.
Yes.
I covered you in feathers.
Feathers, yeah.
We've hosed you down with gauze for the jungle. So like everything's a different
The
theme.
last one we were trying the paint and the tape.
paint and the tape. We had a French musician DJ had a song, and he's just like, "I want you guys to do a video."
It's usually when somebody says you can do whatever you want, then it ends
Yeah.
up that you're getting called.
Yeah, but it's like do whatever you want. And everything was neutral, and it was just undulating nude body
Butts.
parts.
Yeah.
But then we also had fruit involved, but we also covered you in honey
There was
Cream
and cream.
honey.
yeah, it was like a weird like yogurt mixture of something
Oh,
that
yeah.
was sliding
that was
down.
the heavy cream.
It was
that
the
was
cream,
down your-
but yeah, I think we put yogurt in it to make it
a little
slower.
thicker so
Yeah.
it would move slower.
Yeah.
I do remember that. I still have clips of that on my Instagram.
Yeah. I love no matter what. I love that video. But we like after we're just like we spent all day covering you in honey and cream, and we're just like
Real sorry about that, by
someone
the way.
gave us free range to do whatever we want, and that's what we do.
Yeah. We probably could have thought of something else,
We
but
could've, we could've
neither here nor there.
It worked.
I stand by it. I stand by the work.
Yeah.
It was fun. It wasn't even the messiest of the shoots that I've done. Like I've done one where I was like doused in baby oil from head to toe.
Yeah.
I actually like drove home greasy. Like I was like slipping
Diddy
all
involved?
over this. No.
Were you wearing all
not.
white?
No.
Just had a check.
I wasn't wearing anything, actually.
Did you feel safe?
we try to be very conscientious and never have baby oil and hair.
Yeah.
Because we understand
It
what a
takes
jam up that is.
forever to get out.
Yes.
Yes.
We oiled one girl up so much she couldn't get out of the bathroom. Like her
Yes.
hand was so oiled.
She got stuck in.
She's
That's
stuck.
me on the steering wheel trying to drive home from that shoot.
Oh, yeah.
Like I was like slipping and I was so scared. I'm already anxious driving.
And then recently, we did this. It was like a short spoof film promotional thing, but we came up with the idea to do a buddy cop show that emulated Silk Stockings.
Yes.
From the 90s.
One of my favorite shows ever.
Had 8 seasons.
8 seasons.
8 seasons.
That is not sustainable.
Before you were even born. It was in the 90s, and it was like really cheesy, and it was like very sexy.
Was it USA Network?
USA Network, and like they probably only had like 3 locations, but they just kind of switched out the locations to be different.
Oh yeah,
things.
yeah, totally. Yeah.
But it was the tag team was called Rub and Tug, and you were Tug.
Yes.
You were so great.
As a matter of fact, when I was making these, I was setting up the files today to record. I have to label all the microphones, and you're in as Tug.
I love that.
We only did like little snippets. We didn't do like a whole show. It was like kind of like fake commercials for the show, but we went all out.
Oh, yeah.
It was so great. We
Again,
definitely want to.
Again, if somebody's like, here, do whatever you want.
Yeah.
We're probably going to waste some
Yeah.
money, and we're probably going to call her.
You're going down, Rico.
We know all about your dildo obsession, and your prints are all over this one.
Listen, I'm not saying nothing. How do I know y'all ain't recording me? Y'all two, y'all can be wired.
Do we look like we're wired? It was so fun to do, honestly.
Yeah.
Like it was not when we were talking about making, like Shannon had messaged me too about making a commercial for the strip club. This was not what I imagined at all.
Nobody imagined it.
Yeah.
Everybody.
No, and everyone was like, what?
Everyone from the crew that we've run into, like whether it's out socially or on another shoot, they've all been like, "That was the weirdest job I've ever worked."
Yeah,
It was like sketch comedy. It was fun.
It was
like I like how you played because it was still sexual.
Yes.
But it was fun and funny and like
Yeah.
It wasn't like the whole trick was to make it fun and funny and not
Creepy.
like creepy because it's
no
so
one likes
easy to
creepy.
do that. And it's
Yeah.
like, why would you want to? Like,
Yeah.
who would want to watch that? Like,
And like once a year, we get to do this. We get to live in this world. We want it to be fun.
exactly.
It should be fun. It's like running around naked should be fun.
it should be.
Hey, you know.
The other skit that was in it with the Amish.
Yeah, we
girl,
did the
that,
Amish.
I was dying laughing.
Thank you.
I
Thank
could
you.
not.
Oh, and we
Oh
did the
my.
80s exercise video with you
Yes.
as
Oh,
well.
yeah, we did an 80s exercise video. That was
Yes.
so great.
I'm putting all of these clips in here.
Oh, yeah.
We're cutting away to all this
they
because
gotta
it's all
live
too
somewhere.
good.
It is so
Yes.
good.
Yeah, so we better keep this episode short so we can put all of them
I know.
in their entirety.
I like
Yeah.
to say, doing Tug of Robin Tug kind
That
of gave
was
you the
so
bug.
fun. Yes, that
to
was so fun.
do
That was
some acting,
That was
right?
my first speaking role.
Yeah.
In anything.
At first, we were just like, and we didn't even ask you to get naked. Because, oh no, but Tug does flash one of the things to show that you're not wired.
Yes.
I was like, oh, she did get naked. But that's cool. So how's that going?
Good. I have classes every Monday, and I
That's-
love them.
that's great.
I have a short student film that I'm doing because I'm still building my reel and
Oh,
everything.
yeah.
And then I did just get asked actually back by a production that I did last March. They're doing reshoots. I'm just background for that,
yeah,
but
yeah.
I just am excited to be there. Like that's another thing where it's like I just show up regardless of what it is, just because it's fun to be in that environment.
It
It's fun
is.
to
Yeah,
create
fun to be on
something.
set and
Yeah.
do something.
Yeah, I just saw Brad Pitt. They were talking about what they did before making it big. He was an extra background player for 2 years.
A lot of
yeah.
celebrities that are now celebrities started off as background. They didn't get where they were because of background. 'Cause background in the acting world doesn't count as real experience, but like I heard of like I think Ben Affleck was one also.
Yeah, Mac from Always Sunny.
Yeah, he was.
We've seen him in a few things in the background, and but it also just there's a just like in a strip club on a film set. There's like certain etiquette and certain things you just need to know, and you don't know unless you're on a set. And even as a background player, you see how things are done. You see how the actors behave and and how directors direct. So like everything's experience. So the reason we brought here, I have a few more questions about you personally, but the reason why
if you haven't read the title of this episode yet, and you need to know why,
it was because Anora swept the Oscars.
Pretty much. It didn't sweep though because the guy didn't win Best Supporting, so it didn't win everything it was nominated for.
But it was Best Picture, Best Director,
I know.
Best Original Screenplay, Best Editing, Best Actress.
Most wins wins since The Wiz.
Yeah. Wow. He's on down the road, man.
Yeah.
Sweet. So we just wanted a little insight of what they did. But how did you get started? How old were you? And what was the decision to go up on stage and strip?
I was 19, and I have a habit of making easy stories really long. So long story short,
We appreciate that.
I got a speeding ticket in my mom's car, and I didn't want her to find out. And my friend was already dancing.
And you were like, you know what's going to make this better? More secrets.
I was like, can you please bring me in for one night? Like, I need to make $180. Yes, I was going kind of fast. And in one night before, so I could pay it off before she finds out or anything. And I was so nervous. Like, there was a backstage that she taught me like 3 little spins to do because I'm like,
Right. What do I do up there?
yes.
Yeah.
And then when I went on stage, I was like, okay, and I had a bikini style top, so you could just like pull it to the side, like little curtains.
Right, oh, yeah.
And I just remember like thinking I was going to do it, and it was going to be like the music stops, like people drop their glasses.
You're like, "Ah."
And it was just no big deal. Like some people weren't even looking. They were like,
Did you then get really upset and you're like, wait, no one cares?
No,
'Cause
I
there's
got really
boobs over here.
excited because I was like, oh, this is nothing.
right.
Like, this is so easy. And I didn't do any lap dances. I actually didn't do any lap dances for the first like 2 months because I was terrified. I was like, what happens back there?
Right. I'm not doing.
Like, I don't know how to do this. I wasn't the most experienced at my life at that time either. So I was just like, I don't know how to do it for real. How am I supposed to do it for fake? Like,
Right. That's so funny.
and the first lap dance I did end up doing a few months later was with one of my friend's customers. She had him bring us both back. So she demonstrated, I watched, and I was like, okay, got it. And then like,
Yeah, you have to pop that bubble.
You're like, hold on, 1 second, hold on.
I love my notebooks.
So you put your leg. Okay. So,
And then after that, everyone started saying, like, you need to go work in the city because I was working out in the suburbs. And it's
okay.
more of a smaller, like, neighborhood club. There's still money there. But when I came to the city, that was when I started making, like, real money. Like, I remember the first night I made over $1,000. I was like, what? I was like, I had to count it 3 times.
Speed
I was
all
like,
I want now.
I'm speeding home.
Fuck you, Mom. I'm speeding.
even within the first 2 months, I had bought my own car. I had my own apartment after that. Like,
oh, that moved pretty
You're
quick.
in.
Huh? Yeah.
yes.
You're in. Oh, wow.
That's how they get you.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And
And it's
We always
addicting.
wondered
When
about
you
that.
first start, like, I was like, oh my gosh, I want to be here every day, every hour. Like, I was working 6 nights a
Right.
week as much as I could. After a while, you get used to it again. And then strippers make their own schedules. So now it's like I'm there like 3 times a month.
yeah. Yeah, it's like, oh, I want to buy something, or I have this bill, or whatever.
Do you think it's something in your personality that like you liked being on stage, you liked the performative aspect of it, or was it purely money?
I love the performative aspect of it because I like performing. Like, even as a kid, I was like the girl that was like pole dancing on like the poles that hold people's basements up when we would have sleepovers.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of my friends have been like, this doesn't surprise us. Like,
Yeah.
anybody that actually
You've been doing it for a
people
long
that didn't know
time.
me, because I was very shy. And then I had gone to college for a year, And when I moved up to college, I was like, all right, I'm going to be outgoing. And I forced myself to talk to people. So then when I came home from that and I was kind of going back and forth, do I go back to my shy self in my hometown or do I continue this outgoing thing? And then stripping just was like an outlet for me to continue because it's really easy to be outgoing when you're already naked. Like that's some people's like nightmares.
It's pretty much taking away all of your
conquering fears and is putting yourself out there, literally.
Yeah. Maybe instead of an improv class, we should start stripping.
I know. Oh yeah. No.
Conquer our fears.
No one wants that. But you also you get to choose your name
and you get to choose your music.
Right. So it's a whole like character you're building.
Yeah, because then it was like once you start dancing, you make a dance card usually with the DJ or you give them a playlist. And when I first started, I was like, I don't know. Like I thought just sexy music, which everyone says, and then DJs are always like, what does that mean?
His idea of sexy music and yours is probably
it's like
and
Lady
there's so
in
many
Red.
different kinds. Like it could be slow and sensual, it could be faster, it could be like depending. And when I first started, I wanted to do tricks because if you're spinning, you can't look at the people looking at you. And I just saw the girls that were doing the tricks and being like, oh my God, that's amazing. Like I want to be able to do that. There was one girl at my first club, we used to call her poetry on a pole because she literally was just so fluid like and beautiful the way she danced.
I mean, I have to say, I mean, we've been, like for work, we've been in or around clubs for hundreds of hours, thousands of hours maybe. Yeah. The only time we ever go is when somebody's like doing tricks.
Doing something amazing.
See, literally the only time that it gets our attention.
But like we've also filmed you on stage quite a few times. You do have like you have a definite like smoothness to you. Like there's no.
You could call it poetry on a pole.
Poetry on a pole. Yeah. No, but it's you hit your marks. You know what looks good. It's like there's a connection to the visual while you're performing.
And I feel like that's learned. Like when I first started, I was like Bambi in my heels. Like I was holding onto the pole
like
for dear life.
A 19-year-old girl taking off her bikini, you don't have to do much more. It's like after a while, I should probably learn a craft here.
But that was part of the fun was like learning the different things and then like even practicing. Like I would be practicing at home in my mirror, like things to do on the floor, not even on the pole, because the pole can be exhausting. It's a crazy workout. That's why there's all kinds of pole fitness places now. But you want to like save some of your energy too, because as soon as you get off the stage, that's when you make more money.
Yeah, you can't be winded. Like,
hey. I used to go up to people like that and be like, hi, how are you?
I'm just going to grab a Gatorade. I'll be right back.
Yeah.
But the actress from Anora, Mikey Madison.
Yeah, Mikey Madison.
Mikey Madison. She said she trained for like 3 months, and she was doing a ton of pole work. And she said the first time she tried it, she's like, "Uh-oh, this is not easy. I'm gonna have to really learn how to do this." A
lot of people. I've brought in a lot of other friends into dancing too. And they're always like so worried about pole tricks and stuff like that. I'm like, you don't have to do much at first because you have to build your muscle, because you don't realize like lifting yourself up. It's like lifting your body weight over and over and over again for different tricks and different things. It takes a while. And you don't think that like a 3-minute song is that long until you're up on that stage.
Forever. It's forever.
Yeah, that's a very long time.
But I saw her dancing in the movie, and like even when she does the strip tease in front of him, like he's sitting on the couch and stuff, and she's just doing floor work. She doesn't have the pole or anything. Even that is a lot, like what she was doing. And those are moves that I have seen countless times in different clubs that I've worked in. Like they're actual. It wasn't just.
It's a performance. It's like any other professional. But I saw a little bit behind the scenes of Anora. And she had been working on the pole for like 2 months. And Sean Baker calls her up and be like, "Oh, we finally have a location. It's a couch dance place." And she's like, "I've been working the pole for 2 months." And she's like, "Well, I'm sure it'll still be great, but this place is great, so it's just lap dancing." Now, the other element in Anora is the Russian. They never come out and say it's the mob. They never say criminal activity.
Oligarch of some
sort. And they
sort.
didn't want to. Like I saw interviews with Sean Baker, and they didn't want to be like, "Oh, the Russian mob," and go there. But is there that kind of element in the thing that you know of that you? I don't even know if you want to talk about, but
no, I've never come across any. Like there's been characters, but I can't say. They don't talk about what they do. And when someone's spending money on you, you don't really want to know where it's coming from sometimes.
Now that leads to, have you ever been propositioned like that?
Absolutely.
Oh, really?
Yes.
All the time?
All the time.
All the time. Wow.
Like almost every time.
Like what's the biggest offer?
Actually, it was recently. It was right after the Eagles parade. I had met.
So it's
someone,
like 3 weeks ago.
Up on the win.
and it was a champagne room is like a half-hour dance.
Right.
And the entire time it was just trying to negotiate with me and ask me what it would cost and upping the price. And I think he went up to like 15,000 or something for just one night, like one time and everything. And I was like, no. And he's like, what would it cost you? I was like, my integrity. He's like, I can't argue with that. Like,
at least he was reasonable that when you drew the line in the sand, he was like, well, that I don't have.
And it was funny because then he was like, all right, well, I'll still come back here and see you. I'm like, okay.
Okay.
Like,
Yeah.
Right.
This money right now.
I'll take it, 200 at a time.
Now that's is that an ego boost when someone's laying out 15 grand for one night?
No, like I'm like, wow, that's incredible. But for me, it gets like I would rather sit and negotiate and talk and not have to actually do anything, like dance on you or anything, because that's just the easiest money ever. Like, yes, let's have a conversation. Yeah, but for me, it's just kind of like I'm never going to go there, so I don't even imagine like what it would be like, because I'm like,
well, if he comes back in, tell him I'll fuck him for $9,000 because I got some unpaid bills.
I'll do it for $1,500. Yeah,
I do.
I got a speeding ticket I got to take care of.
There's definitely
I'll do it for
like
$180.
What she does in the movie is meets him outside and stuff, and there are girls that will possibly do that. Like it is a way for them to like kind of safely meet people that have the money to spend on things like that.
Right. Instead of going on
and
the
like
internet.
like every year we get to know 4 girls because we do a calendar shoot and it's 4 girls. So like we kind of get to know these girls, and it's how we got to know you. Mm-hmm. But like we know that they have whales. Or like, like a casino would say they have a whale. We'll be in for a meeting or whatever, and a girl will be like, oh yeah, it's a slow night, but I've got these bills to pay, so I'm just calling up Fred, and he'll come in, and I know he'll drop $200-$300 on me.
I have customers. I don't even like calling them my customers. They're like my friends at this point because I've known them for years.
Right.
And I'm very upfront. Like I've always been in a relationship since I've been working. I tell people that, so they just off the bat don't try.
They know, yeah.
But I've had them that will like, I'll just message them and be like, I don't feel like working today. Can you just send me money? And they will. Because when I do work, I let them know, and then they come in and they know how I am. I'm like the discount lazy stripper. Like I'm not going to push the champagne rooms. Like,
right.
I will just be like, whatever
upsell.
you want to spend, and if you don't want to spend, that's fine. And then sometimes I feel like because I'm not pushy, that makes them want to give money more.
That's your game, is the not pushy game. Yeah.
And it also, like, you're giving them your attention.
Yeah.
They have your attention. And it seems like
and
not
these are ones that
upselling.
I've known for a while, too. It's not like I met them one day and then the next day I'm just like, hey, give me money. Yeah.
It's been years. Okay. Man.
That makes sense.
We had you watch Anora. Mm-hmm. And I thought, just from the times that we've spent in the club, that the actual, like, club itself, but also behind the scenes and the girls and like everything was pretty well portrayed.
Yes, absolutely. I did take some notes.
Yeah.
The introductions, how she goes up and she's like, "Hi, I'm Annie," and like that is literally, it's instant. Like she's a hustler. Like she was like instantly like, "Oh, like you need money? Let's go to the ATM." I was like, I've done that multiple times, especially because that is something people will be like, "Oh, I don't
like
have
a shy
cash."
guy will be like,
and I'm
"Oh,
like,
I
"Don't
don't."
we have ATMs?
Yeah.
We also, our ATMs have high surcharges, so I also am like, there's also a Wawa across the street. Like, I'll wait if you want to run over there." Like,
I thought one of the best things that they captured was her moving on.
And yeah,
like her, like somebody saying no to her and her moving on.
No,
and
you're waiting for someone else, and then you just
put that
go.
face on
and
again.
that is pretty much how you do it. Like the only thing that I didn't really like, because I don't see it as much. I'm sure it still happens, but the girl that comes up to her and is like, "Oh, did you dance on so and so last week?" and gets a little mad about it. Yeah. The girls don't really do that. I haven't experienced that. Where like even if it's somebody's customer and you dance on them, they're more upset with the customer than the girl. Like the girls really do, at least in my experience, they're not really that like catty or upset. There might be a few that are, but I don't know. I haven't experienced anyone getting mad. Like if I was sitting with someone's customer, they would have the customer tell me like, oh, I'm waiting for them. And if the customer didn't, then that's on him. Like, yeah, they might be upset, but they're not really upset at me.
Right. I saw another thing with Mikey and she said that was like one of her favorite days was doing that scene, and how Sean Baker films is he had a camera and he just followed her around while she approached people, and she said anything could go, and like we didn't know what would happen, and they just kept filming until they felt like they had enough. So it was like as natural a scene as you.
It literally like made me think of what it's like working. Like that is exactly the way it's portrayed. The dressing room scene was a little bit different because she had like the Tupperware food. We're not allowed to have food, like bring our own in. We have what we call a house mom, and she brings in snacks and stuff if you work the later shifts. If you work day shift, you get free lunch anyway. When she complains about like the DJ, because DJs really do make or break the club. That was
right.
I haven't had an experience or seen an experience where a manager would come and pull a girl specifically for someone, but I do understand in the film it's because she can speak Russian and he's Russian.
He's looking,
and the scheduling, that was the only other thing that I think differentiated from my experience with dancing, is because the girls make their own schedules. A lot of girls will just walk in, like they don't put themselves on the schedule, or they do as least as possible because you could always walk in and work.
Did it bother you in Anora that she used her real name and didn't have a stage name?
So technically she used the name Annie and her name was Anora. So it was like, I understand, because for some girls it's really hard to pay attention to a new name. And for me, I always, like, my first dancer name was Riley, and I always loved that. But when I left and went to Club Risque, I had to be Reagan because they already had a Riley. And it took me a while to get used to that. But then now, 10 years later, I had to change it again because I had left for the 3 years. And when I came back, they're like, oh, now we have a Riley and a Reagan.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, who am I now? And then when I'm not listening to my new name, it will piss the DJ off if he's calling you to the stage and you're not on the stage and you're just sitting there and he could see you just sitting there.
Right. You're like, oops, sorry, new name.
Yep.
Yeah.
We were saying that we miss all the old school names because a lot of people will be like, their name is Sarah and their stage name is Polly. It's like they're not doing anything
like drastic, like
Diamond or Portia or Phoenix.
There's like Mercedes, like you were talking about the cars.
Oh, the cars were great, but like nobody ever names themselves like Ultima.
Pinto.
I'm sure there's been a couple Teslas. Mercedes.
Nova would be good.
Nova's a great one.
There's definitely still, and at this point, there at the club I'm at, there's so many girls that are employed that there's like not a lot of names to choose from. So you kind of have to have something a little different,
right?
Because all of the regular ones are already like taken.
Yeah. Well, we did a shoot for 2000 for this year in 2024 for 25, and there was a Moon, and there was a Blaze,
right?
And a Xena.
A Xena, really?
Yeah.
Xena. Moon, Blaze, Xena, and Austin.
When I first started working at my old club, there was, I'm trying to remember, there was one named Passion, there was one named Tweet, things like that. And it would be funny because I never knew their real names. So if me and my friend, like after work, went to the diner and we were talking about like, oh, did you see like Passion on stage or whatever? And anybody overheard this conversation, they would be like,
nice friends. Yeah, I think cars were a good subset of names. Then there's locations like Paris, Dakota, Austin. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of
the thing I'm like fighting with. One of our very, very first shoots, the dancer was deaf.
She was partially deaf.
And she spoke. She was partial. Yeah,
she was partially deaf because she spoke kind of fine, but had a little lisp.
Okay.
And her name was Dazzle.
But
if you asked her name was Dazzle.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
So it was like,
and we were like, oh,
there's so many jokes, but we were like, you can't. It's like, I think it did help us like right in the beginning, like how to like conduct yourself on a set, because It's just open, like everyone's
on a set where everyone's nude,
and everyone's covered in baby oil. It's just like, but it's so funny. Like we've been doing it for so long. It's like we've never like taken advantage of. We've never like did any.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, it's like you gotta have the shot done. It's got to be right, and like everyone's going home. Like,
and everyone is like, we thought of like doing lottery tickets for people to come work on set that day.
Yeah, we said people would be like, can I PA? Or
all our crew guys, our heads are exploding. It's like, we got to be on the stripper shoot. You know, it's like, I'm like, but it's work.
It's work.
It's a lot of hard work. It's still hard work. I mean,
it's a long day.
It's a long.
It is a long day.
Yeah. Yeah, we always say bring a book, you know, between the lighting and the dressing and the makeup.
And we're usually shooting 4 or 5 people, so you have a lot of downtime.
And depending on what concept you're doing, because when you're painting something on or whatever, that takes a while.
Yes. My only other favorite name thing was the one year we shot a girl and her stage name was Amy. We're like, oh, okay. And we were like, well, what's your real name? And she was like, Jade. And we were like,
it was right there.
We're like, you were given at birth a stripper name. And so you had to then make it normal.
Yeah. Who was it? It was your father-in-law. I forget, someone in your circle. And they're like, oh, this is our daughter. What? I can't think. She's like, oh, she's going to get on the pole. You know, it's just like she was a cute girl, and she was just like.
Well, there was a guy we worked with who had a daughter named like Skylar or something. We're like, dude, you're not doing her any favors.
I do remember there was a Skylar that worked at.
Of course there was.
She was beautiful too.
Yeah,
she was when I
first
started. When I very first started.
She was one of our premier girls. Do you let people know, like people that like you're in a relationship, you have your circle of friends, but when you're out social and people ask,
my entire life knows that I'm a stripper. I became like a stripper monster after I started working, especially after the calendar shoot, because you guys put me on one of the billboards. And I had people messaging me like,
we didn't. I mean,
But
it was the best
at that
shot.
time, I had a lot of power of who would go up
people
there.
messaging me, my dad saw your billboard. I'm like, did he like it?
So how do you like it?
Did he like it a lot? Like too much?
It was cool. And thankfully, I was always open. Like, I think I told my parents that I was a shot girl for like the first week and a half that I worked.
Soften the blow.
And then I just was like, yeah. And
once you got the ticket paid, you were like, well, actually.
Once I moved out.
Okay, all right.
I had the car and then I moved out and then I was like, yeah, like I'm dancing. Like my mom knew, like she worked nights too. So sometimes I would come home and then she would just see my knees all bruised, which is because when you're doing pole work, everyone thinks like, what are you doing on your knees? But it's like you land on your knees a lot of the times. And if you're twerking, you're on the knees and then you get bruises and for the first like 2 weeks until your body gets used to it and then you stop bruising as badly. But she was like, I know you're on the pole. And I was just like, okay. And then she actually surprised me because she was like, if you're not doing anything you're ashamed of, I'm not going to shame you for it. And she actually told me how when she was younger, she was actually offered like a job doing it, but she couldn't do it. She was too like.
Yeah, it takes a certain.
Yeah. And then I was just like, okay, well, if they know, then who else really
the
matters?
worst that could possibly.
Yes, who else really matters? Like it's not really like super talked about. Like my dad will just call it like the hot spot. He's like, are you going to the hot spot? Still
That's
working at the hot spot.
That is a super dad thing to say.
Yeah. And it was funny because when I did stay there for the 2 months, they made me pay rent to them. And I had like a stack of ones.
Yes.
Well,
Fire it out
because
for
my
him.
first club didn't cash my ones out. So that was all I had. And I wasn't doing dances.
All balled up.
Like,
all balled up and kind of soggy.
no, I unrolled them. No, I was always very open about it. So like, and people even from like my high school and stuff would reach out and all of a sudden they were like, oh, like I had a crush on you in high school. I'm like, oh really? Did you?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Did you really?
Yeah.
We don't announce to everyone like clients because we have a lot of corporate clients, commercial clients. We do everything. So like this little project that we do every year, we don't put it on our website. We don't have, but it's not out of shame. It's just, when you're trying to reach a broad market and you're trying to do commercial work, you just don't want to have to deal with it. But like we kind of have to defend the show because it's like the owners of the club are amazing. It's a family. They treat us like family. They're the only client that always pays on time. And everyone's been great, and all the girls have been great. And like the house mom is great. Connie was one of our closest.
Yeah, Connie was the best.
Connie was the best.
My old neighbor.
Connie literally changed my life by hiring me because that was like, I don't know if I would have stayed in the industry if I didn't work at Risque.
Right.
And she was like the head of Risque when I first applied. And it's so funny because she reminds me of my mom too. Like they have a lot of similarities. And I just remember like I would be scared, like because I'm a naturally late person. I was 5 minutes late today. So she used to always like reprimand, like if you were late, you used to have to pay a late fee and all of that stuff. And I would like hate having to go in the office and be like, Connie, I'm sorry.
You can't exactly tiptoe in.
But she really looked out for the girls and she made it a great club to work in.
Yeah. I mean, we've spent time in our house. We broke bread together. We were just like
Christmas Eve at Connie's was, we went a couple times. She was the best.
And we always, and like it took us a while to get a crew of people to be able to work on it and be cool with it. And like it's not a big deal. And it's just another job. It's a fun job where everyone's naked and we have a good time. But we had one hair and makeup girl that we could tell she didn't want to be there. And she kept calling all the girls hookers. And we're just like, do not call them hookers.
Yeah.
It's like this is a respected client of ours. Don't do that.
By the way, the majority of them aren't. The majority of them don't do extras or anything like that.
They're mostly in dental school.
Yeah. But we asked her to leave. Like Chris Rock always says, there's no sex in the champagne room.
There's really not.
There's not.
I mean, not in my experience. And our champagne rooms are separated by like divider beads.
Right.
So you can see like
everything.
I've had times with my regulars where we'll sit and just like watch what the other people are doing to be
you play passing judgment.
Do you think anything's happening? Do you think anything's going anywhere? And sometimes it's funny because you can still hear some stuff. Like it's pretty good with being a private room, but you can still hear some things. So like sometimes people, if they have like slap fetishes, you'll just hear a whole bunch of like smacks like and everything. We'll just always try to be like, all right, when we go out, we're gonna see if there's any marks.
Has anyone crossed the line with you? Because there's bouncers there. There's people.
There's definitely been situations where people tried, but they've never been successful. At the club, we have the bouncers like right outside the champagne room doors and everything. So, and the girls always have the right, like you don't have to, if someone is being aggressive with you and I usually will give them a warning or two. Sometimes people are drunk and they're caught up in the moment or whatever, but you can always walk out and there's no refunds. So I tell them that. Like it doesn't matter if you're 5 minutes in. If you are, I don't do full nude ever. So if you're trying to like pull on my thong and you do it more than once, I'm going to tell you the first time I don't do that, do it again and I will walk out. And the club really has the girls' backs in that.
Oh, yeah, they have to.
Right, yeah.
And same thing with even the regular dance room. Like sometimes in the regular dance room, people will just go for it. Like, and I'm like, no. Like, I don't know what you thought.
That's bold.
Yeah, it is.
Especially
I
because
can't imagine.
You're not even spending money. You're spending $20. And
Right,
I'm only getting 15
Hey,
of it.
everybody loves a sale.
Yeah, no.
The thing is, when you're doing regular dances, you want to keep them back there because it's $20 every couple minutes. And usually I'll be like, do you want another one? Do you want another one? But if they're just a headache for the first one, say they're not too bad, but they're just annoying the whole first one, I'll be like, oh, my legs are so tired. I need to take a break and like leave because I'd rather make no money
than deal with that.
Yes.
Right.
And it is like a stripper, I don't want to say trauma. That sounds like such an intense word, but like I can like replay in my head like a bunch of different lap dances that I've given. So it's like I'm not adding you to the montage if you're going to be a horrible addition.
Right.
You probably only remember the very best and the very worst.
Now it's like, and I understand you're in a relationship and have been for a while. But is there any like arousal of any like is there any kind of like sexual energy
Absolutely. No, I feel like sexual energy is definitely still exchanged even without having sex, because you can feel, I mean, it's obvious that men have a sexual response when you're dancing on them, but you can feel like connected to people during dances and stuff. Like, it is like a exchange of energy in a way, even though you're not physically exchanging anything. It's just, you, like, I can tell, and that's part of the fantasy for some people, because I feel like a lot of the guys, like, people always worry about like married men and stuff going into clubs, which yes, that does happen, but a lot of them are lonely guys that aren't married, or they're widowed, or they are a little bit socially awkward or something, and they just crave like human touch. So even just like, you don't even have to like be dancing on them. Even sometimes like I will just like hold their shoulders instead of like the back of the couch and stuff, and it makes a difference in my money, I've noticed, because they don't want just the dance that you're like, okay, I'm getting this over.
Out.
If you act like you're really into them and giving them that like connection for a little bit, then they're more likely to spend more, and you feel like, oh, like I kind of made their day in a
therapy.
Weird, in a weird
being
way.
in somebody's personal space, like within 3 feet
I've had
of
guys
them.
try to be like, I had a guy in the
You said you wouldn't tell anybody.
I've had a guy in the champagne room where I started just doing a regular dance because he was like completely fine, and then he just started crying, and he was like, I haven't had a woman like touch me in however many years, and he was like, and it makes me sad. He had like a past person that he was with that had passed away, and it was like very intense for him in that moment, and I literally just like held him. I wanted to cry with him, but I was like, he needs someone strong right now. Like, so, yeah.
That's actually really sweet. My heart's kind of swelling up.
And that's why I said, even my regulars that I've known for years, I consider them my friends. Like, some of them have like met my partner and everything. So it's not like they think anything's gonna happen, but like I will like meet them outside of the club sometimes, not for anything sexual. Like, literally we'll go and get lunch. My one customer just had us over for a pool party, and like I brought my partner and everything. He got to meet them. He's like, oh, he's awesome. I'm like, I know.
Yes, and your partner, you know, it's going like I didn't know what
It
to
takes
think.
a certain person.
Meeting him, you know, after we've shot you so many times. Yeah, he's like, hey, what's up? I'm like, oh.
And so many people do ask me that, like, how does he feel about it and everything? I'm like, he met me and I was already like 6 years into dancing, so he knew, and he is like, it's so crazy because he's like the least like jealous or possessive type of person.
Have to be.
But I'm a little bit of the jealous one.
That's funny.
That's all right. You can swing the other way. Yeah. That's no problem. So back to Anora. Like, what? Just your overall thought. Like, are you a movie watcher, movie goer? Do you watch a lot of movies?
I do watch a lot of movies. The last movie I went to was actually Baby Girl, because I just needed to see what it was about, like after seeing those trailers. And I went with 2 of my friends. And other than that, I haven't gone to the actual movies. Like, I'm like a movies at home. I'd rather watch it, like buy it on the streaming service and watch it from the comfort of my home.
How did you feel about Anora?
I liked it. It was very real to like how the actual strip clubs are. Like, I think they did a great job with that.
Had you seen Pretty Woman?
Yes.
Yeah. And it's hard not to compare this to a Pretty Woman. It's kind of like the grounded, grittier, more realistic of this thing happening, where like a very rich person taking someone out of this life, except in this film, spoiler, the rug gets pulled out from her.
Yes.
And it's all in the same film. She's granted all this amazing rich lifestyle, and then it's all taken away in the length of the movie.
And you know what? They actually, better than Pretty Woman, they didn't spend a lot of time on all the sort of lavish stuff. Right. Like, she had a coat, and you know they did stuff.
They did,
but like, they mostly sat around. Alone. She was sitting around an amazing house and smoking weed and playing video games.
He was playing the video games.
Yeah, which it's good work if you can get it.
Right, but I think the heart of the movie is when it's being taken away from her, and you kind of like think that she's just gonna fold over and like, the Russian, criminal element is just going to manhandle her. That's not what happened. She fought for it. She fought to keep that Cinderella dream.
And I do know it was funny when he joked and he's like, oh, I'm like a big drug dealer, and then he's like, no, but I do deal guns. And and then he was laughing again, and he was like, no, like just look up my father. In Pretty Woman, I feel like I have to rewatch it. I haven't seen it in a while, but she actually does like fall in love with the guy. And in this, I don't think she loved him like you said. It was like she loved that lifestyle, the idea of that lifestyle.
Yeah, it was the out. It's getting out of the club, getting out of all that, and the sister's house, and she was already in her head gone. Yeah. And then, how did you like the ending?
So the ending was weird to me though, but it's because of the person that I am, because I always want more and I want to know what happened afterwards. Like I understand exactly what he and her were doing in the end, like how it was like him trying to kiss her was just too much, and that was what broke her afterwards, because like everything else was less intimate for her, which by the way, there's a difference between strippers and escorts and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
But at that point,
if you don't know that, by the way,
not every dancer is gonna like take you up on an offer to spend a week with you.
No, most won't.
Most won't.
And it was funny also how many times they referenced her being like a prostitute or a hooker or something.
Right.
And she was so adamant about not being it.
Yeah.
But she was like, even on the New Year's party, like how she's like, well, I have holiday rates.
Yeah.
Like,
well, yeah, she was trying to have it both ways. I thought that was very funny that she was constantly getting upset about everyone calling her that.
But that's what you're doing right now.
But that's what she did, yeah.
But no, the ending, to me, it was like he had shown her the kindness, and she was just, that was her way of trying to return kindness in a way that made sense to her, because that's what she was used to doing. Like,
right, through sex.
Yeah.
It's like someone's nice to you. What can you do for them?
She essentially had nothing else to offer, especially at that point when her returned to her previous life.
And I think that is the goal of a film, is to make you believe these people exist in real life. And Sean Baker definitely did that. Does she go back to the club?
Yeah.
Does she?
How?
Yeah.
I got really upset too, because the girl that gets mad at her at the beginning, which I don't think that really happens in clubs.
Right.
I feel like when a client dances with somebody else, even if it's your regular, you get more mad at the client than the girl. But it really made me mad when he was in the club and that girl was dancing on him and everything, and she was like, 2 weeks on the nose, I called it. Like, that was probably so upsetting.
But you also needed to hate that character.
Yeah, that's movie making. That's having
think of it, like, if afterwards she does have to go back, because she's still going to have to figure out a way to support herself, and that's what she knows. And
that's the thing. That's a
that house was a bummer.
That awesome, amazing house, and then going back to that little shack of a house.
But I think the best writers and the best filmmakers, they make stories and characters where you close the book and you think about what they might be doing.
What they might be doing. But like,
even after that you're done the book, you're like, I wonder what they're up to.
But I like having, like, it makes you think about it, and like you can make your own kind of story about what happens,
but the thing is, I hate endings like that, because I'm an overthinker, and I'm going to be thinking about this for like 3.5 weeks.
They want you to.
That's what they want.
Good.
That's how they get a sequel made.
You don't. I also love movies where they put a little bow on it, and you kind of can see like exactly what's going to happen next. But it's nice.
You knew kind of going into this was not going to have a tidy ending.
Yeah. Well, you never know, but like, he totally turned into a pussy.
It was. I did like that it wasn't like she was. I liked when Toros and Igor and the other guy.
The guy that gets kicked in the face.
Yes. When they come to the house, and after Yvonne runs, and then she is the reason why she got tied up, because she was being a bit erratic or whatever, and then was trying to like be like, you're a monster. Like, Like,
she like was flipping the script
and everything.
Which is like
and it kind of gave you, because at first you were like, oh my gosh, like she's going to get killed or something. Like they're just going to offer. But it's like in real life, that's not it's not that simple or anything. Like,
and I think that's where it was grounded, and that was the best part. Like this,
and it's like they weren't trying to do that. They were just trying to get it annulled because
they were just trying to make their boss happy, and they knew this was a mess.
Their ineptitude and their small victories along the way, and how excited it made them. Like, we think we know where he is. The fact that they got so excited about that stuff was like, yeah, this is how it would be. You'd be driving aimlessly.
Trying to find a young kid in New York City. And then also when they finally get him and they make it to the courthouse, and then it's like, you got married in Vegas. Like, you can't get it annulled here.
Yeah, it was good. Like, I'll watch it again. I'll definitely watch it again.
Well, they want you to, because the movie cost $6 million to make.
$6 million.
But I read this morning that their Oscar campaign cost $18 million.
The whole thing cost 18, so it cost them 12. It was 6 to make it, 12.
No, they spent 18. The CEO of Neon said they spent $18 million.
I think
just for their Oscar campaign.
All right, that's not how I read it, but it made $41 million, so
they're still doing okay. Well,
and it's still
it's less. Well, I mean, now they'll probably see a bigger windfall from that. With
Mikey Madison, you feel for her, but she's so obnoxious. She can't get out of her own way. She just is like she'll fight you at everything, and it's just kind of like, and it's a little bit of that generational thing. It's like as an old guy, is like, get off my porch, you kids. You're just like, oh my God, if she would just like,
relax.
Cooperate, relax.
If she'd stop screaming,
fight every little thing, and like do the flip where it's like, oh, what are you gonna do? Me? What are you gonna beat me up? And they're like, we just want you to not,
like
try to kick our ass. And like he said that he saw her in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Oh, Sean
and
Baker,
she was also in Scream, but she was also very, very annoying and obnoxious. And in both those films, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood and Scream, she was set on fire. She was beat up, thrown through a plane of glass. Blowtorched. And in Scream, she was set on fire on a stove and lit up on fire, and then shot to death. It was like,
talk about typecasting.
And Sean Baker said, out of all his things, he wrote it, he directed it, he produced it. He said his biggest accomplishment was casting it, because he was he's got the credit for casting director. And just, finding her, she was, she was perfect for it.
Yeah, she was great. She was awesome. And he didn't do much wrong.
Yeah.
I think it was very true to the dancer life. And even the part when her sister comes in and is like, did you pick up the milk? And she's like, is there milk in the fridge?
I didn't pick up the fucking milk.
Yes.
I love that scene.
That's so true too, because when you work nights and everything, it's like you will sleep in the next day as late as possible, especially if you're working every night.
Right. If people want to check out anything from your, it's both your stripper life and your real life.
It started off as my stripper life, and then it just became my regular life, and every now and then there'll be a butt picture in there.
Yeah, butt picture. I'm sure they get a lot more likes.
They do.
But that's at Riley_original.
Yes.
We'll put it up here, but Riley Original. On Instagram, and you've got to tell everyone that you're on Jive and Honey.
I will. I will post about this.
And next time you're on, we're gonna check up and see who you told.
We'll call your friends.
We're gonna call friends.
Make sure you're telling people to listen.
This is a threat we're using now.
But we're getting more and more listeners. It's great, but please subscribe. Subscribe helps us.
Yes, leave us a comment.
Comments.
Tell somebody.
Yeah.
Leave us a comment anywhere on Spotify, on YouTube, on wherever.
Yeah. We thought we'd be eviscerated and we'd have to deal with all sorts of comments, but everyone's been so nice to us.
Yes. We also thought we'd probably be famous by now. So that's...
It'll happen.
Yeah. It's a slow burn.
If not, we'll do OnlyFans. It'll be the worst OnlyFans ever.
Yeah. Nobody's going to be asking nobody's asking to see your feet.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
No. All right. Well, until next time.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
And thank you.